first I'm going to be adding a cylinder, and this will act as my log foundation. So let me just scale this up a little bit, move this actually a little bit more up over here. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure you're going to want to scale the log into both sides of the terrain like this, so it's protruding into the terrain. And after you've done this, I'm going to actually texture this thing with some log textures. So right now I'm just going to add a few textures. I'm going to add 4 textures for each side, and we're going to set this to the back, this to the top. Okay, so here I have a log texture that I got from the Roblox decal library. So I'm just going to set all of them to this log texture, and you can see now it looks like a log. So you're going to want to make sure that your decal for your log is sideways, because if, like, for the tree bark has to be running sideways along the length of the cylinder, and if in the decal the bark is like the tree is like running up vertically, then it'll look like the bark is going around the cylinder, and it will look weird. So I actually just made my own decal with a sideways log texture, so I can get this texture sort of look. So now that I have my log, I'm just going to call that a log, and I'm just going to duplicate this, move it to the other side where I want it to be, like that. Okay. Now I am going to group these two things. I'm going to call that group logs, like that. Okay, so now we have our foundation. Now it's time to put in some of that wood boards on the top. So I'm going to put in some blocks here, and I'm just going to make it so it touches the top of the logs. And I'm just going to scale this over to the other side like that. And I want it to be around, around this thick and slightly less wide. Yeah, like that. Alright, so now that you have a wood board, I'm going to call it a plank, actually. And I'm actually going to add more texture to this thing. So I'm going to copy all my textures over here into this one. I'm going to add 2 more for the sides that are not accounted for on the log. So you see here, this side is blank without a texture. These 2, I will change it to the left and right so that I can get those sides. Now you'll notice that this is also in a log texture, so I have a different wood board texture that I got from the Roblox decal library. This is available in the description if you want it. So I'm just going to change all of these textures to this wood board texture here. So now that I have this, I'm actually going to add some nails to the side, because that's what is in real life. There is nails nailing down the boards to the log. So I'm actually gonna scale up these logs a bit, like that. Make them a little bit bigger. Like that. Okay. To make the nail, I'm actually gonna add a cylinder. Rotate this around 90 degrees. You don't have to be perfect. No bridge is perfect. And I'm not going to scale it down just yet, so it'll make it easier to model. Now this is like the long part of the nail, and at the top I'm going to add the flat part of the nail. So like that. I'm just going to move this where the nail is. Scale it down like this. And just move it over top. Actually gonna make this a little wider. A little thicker. Okay, there's the nail. group that, call that a nail, scale it down so that's tiny, tiny, tiny. Apparently I can't scale this down anymore. That's okay. Let me just move these nails down here. On the sides where the plank touches the logs, gonna put it into the log like that. So it should look like that. Little nail in the wood. And I'm gonna be duplicating this and putting it on the other side. Now I'm just gonna group all of this, group that together, call it a plank. And before you do anything, make sure your nails are set to like a material that you want. So in this case, I'm going to set the material to metal. And your plank should be like wood. Because if you don't set it to wood, and if you look at a certain angle, it'll look really shiny and weird. So you're going to want to make sure you set the material to what it actually is, so that you don't get weird reflection stuff when this thing should be rough and not very reflective. So yeah, basically now I'm just going to duplicate this all the way over to the other side. Yeah, okay. Now I can fix this a little bit. Okay, now if you want to add some more realism, you can of course just slightly rotate one of the planks so that it doesn't look that perfect. Like that. Maybe you can rotate one of the logs ever so slightly. Like that. And you can also change, you can make one nail like fall out of place a little bit. So I can select this nail, rotate it a bit, drag it out a bit so that it doesn't look so perfect. This plank as well, I'll drag out this nail a bit, rotate it slightly, yeah, like that. And you're going to also want to make sure your logs are set to the right material to prevent, of course, those reflections. And you know, just do slate, because like slate has I guess no reflections. So I'll just do that, and that's pretty much the bridge. And of course, if you want to make it look more realistic, you can of course put an invisible part on there, put some like mud on top of it if you want to. But this is what I have right now, and it's probably good enough for a lot of you. So here is the bridge. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.